Hello everyone and welcome back to Jenna Voice. Today is going to be my very first book review, which I am so excited for. As I mentioned in my Singer's Goals video for 2018, I want to read at least 10 books related to the voice, to performance, to making yourself a better singer, all of these sorts of topics. And I just finished a book that I started in 2017, so I'm not going to count this toward my 10 books that I want to read this year. But this is a book that I started really just when I was traveling for my first auditions of this season. It's a smaller book, so it was easy to take with me, didn't take up a ton of space. A pretty quick read, the text isn't too dense, hard to follow. The font's actually also larger than normal. And this book is Marketing for Singers and Musicians, The Performer's Guide to Artfully Making Money by Mark J. Stoddard. I have the third edition, so this book's been around for a few years at least. Mark Stoddard is somebody that I heard actually at the Classical Singer Convention a couple of years ago. I actually went and participated in their competition. It was in Boston that year, I believe. Anyway, he gave a lecture that I decided to attend, and I actually really enjoyed his talk. I don't remember what that specific lecture was on. I'm assuming it was something in the thread of this book because he presented that book to us in that lecture, Marketing for Singers, and I decided to buy it there on the spot. He sold me. He's a good marketer. He knows what he's doing. I think one of the most interesting things about him is that he's not a singer or a musician or even a voice teacher. He is, as you can guess, he works very much in marketing and advertising. He's worked in a variety of different venues, different products and items, sales, but he has helped musicians for years. He works for classical singers also. He does write I think a little bit for their magazine, also their blog, but he's made himself accessible as kind of a mentor, a coach, somebody that singers can talk to if they're having questions related to marketing themselves. And so I've had this book for a while. It's taken me a while to pick it up and read it, but glad that I finally got a chance to do so and to finish it. And the biggest reason for that is because marketing, for most singers' curriculum, wherever you are in your education, for most of us, this isn't something that's talked about. Marketing yourself, advertising yourself, tips and tricks to do that, and talking about just the financials of how we handle ourselves as singers in the business, whatever we're doing, whether it's teaching, performing. I kind of wish that was something that was more commonly in our curriculum because it's something we needed to handle for ourselves once we get out into the field. And this book had some really great tips and information that was quite new to me because, as I said, I had never taken any classes on marketing or advertising. And so I thought to summarize this book, I would just talk about 3 of the biggest points or takeaways for myself as I was reading it, rather than try to summarize the whole thing. If you're interested in picking it up for yourself, I'll have some links down below on where you can purchase it. It's not on Amazon, but like I said, I'll put the websites that I found it on that you can purchase it for. So if you're interested in finding out more information, the 3 things I'm going to talk about really just scratch the surface. There's so much to this book. So yeah, let's get started. The first takeaway for me was his talking about networking, building both your audience pool and keeping track of those people more so, getting contact information from people who come to a performance of yours, who have shown interest in you as an artist, as a performer. Keeping a good record of these people can really help you in the future, depending on different projects that you're doing, whether it's a recital you have coming up or fundraising that you're doing for yourself, or if you just want to keep people informed on what you're doing, what's coming up sort of thing. It's really valuable to have that network of people to build your audience further and further. And then of course the networking that we know more, the networking side of people that we work with, people who have had significant influence over us, our past teachers, our directors, other singers that we've worked in collaboration with, pianists, accompanists, you name it, all those sorts of people. Keeping good records of those is so valuable, and it hasn't been something that I have thought too much about. I can of course keep tallies in my head of people that I've worked with and people who have made a difference in my life, but do I have most of those people's contact information? Probably not, and that's concerning. Perhaps I should really take some time to take a better tally of those people who have made a difference in my life, who I've had the opportunity to work with, and people who have shown interest in my career. Second biggest takeaway, of course, with this book was advertising yourself in ways that you may not normally think of. One of his biggest pushes for advertising yourself was by making your own CD and selling it at the opportune moments. I've never made a CD for myself. I don't even quite know how to go about that. I know how to make baseline recordings, and I'm pretty sure I could figure out how to put that on a playlist and to burn that to a CD, but to make it into a really solid product that really represents myself and that I would want to sell to the general public and people who show interest in me, that's, I think, a very interesting project that I need to seriously consider and figure out a plan for, because this is such a great way for singers to make extra money, is to sell recordings of themselves singing. And just thinking about how many recordings we've done in the past year or two that are really good recordings that I'm like, I think I sounded my best at this recording. Why not keep that in my bank of good, really good recordings that I could put together for a CD and make plans to record other pieces for a CD. The great part about a CD is that it's not visual, so theoretically you could record a bunch of songs that you are just learning or have learned but aren't completely memorized or haven't been performed in a long time. It gives you flexibility only making an audio recording versus a video and audio, because it's not a full-blown performance, it's just the voice, so it gives you a lot of flexibility in the pieces that you could use, which I think is really exciting. And my last biggest takeaway from this book was Mark's talking about negotiating prices, and I've not really had to do much of that. I've only sung for like one wedding and one funeral, but this also goes hand in hand with if you're gonna sing for larger events, or you get hired by a company to do something and they start asking what your rates are, or even if it's a community performance and they ask for rates. Just the sort of conversation tactics that you should have when talking to somebody about pricing. The biggest thing, of course, is to not be the first person to bring up money or to make an offer. And that was completely new to me. Like I said, I've done very little negotiating, if at all, in my entire life. So this is really interesting to me. Deciding what your worth is, not just settling, but really deciding now that you are worth money and worth a good amount of money, instead of just saying, well, after I finish this degree or after I've had this many roles under my belt. there's really no reason to downplay your worth, and that's a really hard thing for me to do. Just feeling really assertive in what my value is and deciding what that is I think one of the most important things a singer needs to learn, and that's something I need to work on, because we're gonna have so many opportunities in our careers when we need to negotiate pricing and be firm with what our worth is when performing. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to make livable wages. And that is one of the most difficult things about being a singer. We don't have a set minimum wage that is backed up like most other typical jobs by the state or by the government. You know, we have to kind of fight for good pay, and figuring out a way to be comfortable about talking about that and how to negotiate that is one of the biggest lessons we need to learn. So if this is something you need to work on or want more tips on, I would really recommend this book for that. That was the biggest lesson I think I learned from him. And he was just really pleasant to read. He had a really good, easy flow to his writing style. He would put a lot of his own personal experiences, whether they were directly related to music or not, which I think helped my perspective, looking a little outside of the box, not just from singer mode, singer, professional, business thinking, but considering how he handled other business ventures and situations. But then he did, of course, also include some situations that were very singer specific. So he gives you a very well-rounded perspective on the marketing and advertising. So that's what I appreciated most about this book. As I mentioned, I will link the 1 or 2 websites that I think you can buy this off of down below if you're interested in picking it up yourself. Since this was my first book review, I'd love to hear some feedback from you in the comments down below. If you've read this book also, I'd love to hear your perspective. What did you like? What did you not like about this book? Have you been to the Classical Singer Convention? All these sorts of things are relevant to this video, and I'd love to hear your perspective. So please feel free to leave a comment down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and as always, subscribe if you haven't already and you want to keep up with more videos like this one. And I will talk to you all very soon. Bye-bye.